Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Don't Tell Me How to Fan. My name is Josh Albrecht. With me is my friend John Taylor. John, I'd ask how you're doing, but I know it's not great because the Packers lost to the Vikings.
Yeah, you're spot on, Josh. Not happy with this performance at all. Um, yeah, I don't know where you want to start, but the Packers disappointingly lose 27 to 25, 25 to 27 to the Minnesota Vikings. Do not let the score fool you. It was not this close at all. And I'm sure we'll dive into. We can start wherever you want to start, but
Let's
I
just
got
start with the game. Let's just start
yeah,
with the game itself.
sure.
Okay. So I don't even remember exactly what our score predictions were, but I knew that I had them losing. And I thought it was going to be close, though. I thought that they were gonna hold their own, right? I just thought it was going to come down to defense issues. The Packers scored 3 points in the first half of football. What? Where's
Yeah,
this offense? Where's this Jordan Love is on fire Toyota-thon look out NFL offense? Because it was not in Minnesota today. It was garbage.
Yeah, it was really, really bad. I was trying to think of how, right. So the first three drives went, what did they do? They went fumble, 3 and out, and then a field goal in the red zone. That's all they could come away with on the first three drives. I was
On,
talking to
on the red
there's
zone on the 5, by
on
the
the
way.
five, right? Yeah, not great. Um, yeah, fumble, 3 and out, field goal off. Yeah, turnover on downs. Those were the first four. It's somebody I was talking to in a Discord server I'm a part of said the Packers were shitting the bed, and I was like, they're not shitting the bed. They're down at the time. It was like 10-3. It could have been way worse. And then I looked at the drive recaps and I was like, oh no, this is shitting the bed. Like, I think like sometimes as fans we forget that it's really hard to actually score in the NFL. Like even in an offensive league, like you don't score every time you touch the ball. Otherwise, the scores would be a lot higher. So
Sure.
I'm never watching a game just expecting to score every single drive. I'd like to, but I'm never surprised when we don't, because the defense gets paid too. But yeah, to have it so clearly and concisely be put, the first four drives were abject failures in almost every single way. Was tough. I mean, I don't know what it is about playing teams that they know are of the same caliber or better than them, but man, they start off so slow,
And
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 cannot get out of their own way.
right, let's talk about that because I believe you said on the last podcast, which hopefully some people, listen to. I know we're the way that these line up, it's right before the holidays and then right before New Year's. But you had said number one thing, they have to not shoot themselves in the foot, which they've been doing successfully against these teams that are not these high caliber Super Bowl contending teams. They're not performing poorly against those teams. Why is it that against these teams that are above them in record or are teams that are predicted to go further than them, that they're shooting themselves in the foot? They start off great. They look great on that first drive, which we know the first drive is calculated, right? It's set up, but it's and then Josh Jacobs fumble, and it's just like right there, right off the bat, it was like, oh, okay,
Yeah,
here we
second
go.
second offensive drive, three like shots of like 15 plus yards on and 3 and out. Just immediately, I respect taking a deep shot, but just really, I don't know, just really like felt forced. Matt LaFleur and Jordan Love in the post game were talking about, they were not expecting to see this much man coverage, and they wish they would have done more preparation for it. I don't know how to feel about that as a fan, and I say that because it's easy to say, well, of course that's your job, but teams will only show you so much. But the Packers need to figure out a way to beat man coverage. They were getting zero separation, and it's not like the Vikings have these elite cornerbacks. I think typically Christian Watson is the guy you use to beat man coverage. He can run, he just outruns everybody, and that really kind of puts stress on the defense. But without him on the field, Dontavian Wicks is okay at it, but I don't know. I just the pass catchers were bad today, ton of drops.
Yeah,
So I don't know. I mean, we talk about this. It's just like this is where like youth and inconsistency comes back to really bite you. These are big moments, and I think we are watching the youngest team in the NFL unfortunately shrink in these high leverage, high alert and like high eyes on game. Like this was the game everyone was circling for weeks now, and
For
it's
weeks.
probably
We've
the
been
most
talking about it for months.
yeah, it's probably the most anticipated game of I don't know, this month, maybe the whole season.
Yeah.
Packers Vikings especially, and it's funny because it's not even really necessarily for the first seed. It is now that the Vikings won. There was
Right.
first seed implications. So I don't know. I also just thought, I don't know if you felt this way when you were watching, but did it seem to you like the Packers just were not trying to run anything but vanilla? It seemed so watered down. And I heard thought that maybe it's because if you're set up and not doing all of the motion, you're not doing anything, you have less of an opportunity to screw up the coverage that the defense is. Like obviously, like Jordan Love needs to identify coverages, so does the line. They need to figure out who's blitzing and who's not. And there were conversations that maybe we dumbed down our offense a bit to make things a little bit easier. But I don't know. It just felt like we took away the flair and the exciting things that make a Matt LaFleur offense good. Because I think I was saying same thing I said last podcast. Like the reason why Matt LaFleur is so good is he makes some of the most like elementary school football plays look so interesting and unique. And we just didn't do that today. And we looked stagnant and just not to the level of what I think this team is capable of. But they need to have some sort of come to Jesus moment, because right now, as it stands, they have no real notable wins. They beat all the teams they were supposed to beat, but if you want to be considered a Super Bowl contender, I think at some point you have to beat a team that you have to punch up to. Yeah.
And the thing is that I'm sick of hearing the arguments of, well, they've been close. They've been in every game. Stop looking at the final score. Watch the games. Okay? Because tonight's game was a perfect example of the score might have said they only lost by 2, but no, it wasn't that close at all. If the Packers would have somehow won this game, it would have been a bigger gift than that Bears win. I mean, it was an insane effort by the Packers. It was awful, abysmal.
Yeah.
And I don't, no matter where you go, no matter where you're looking, I mean, I guess Jacobs was still a beast, but it's still, even then, it felt like they got away from Jacobs for a bit. They started wanting to throw more. I don't know if that was some pressure from seeing what Minnesota does. Look, I'm not going to lie. Minnesota is really good at, and I feel like for years, ever since they got Jefferson, they've been more willing to air it out. They don't do as many 10-yard passes. They're willing to take those chances at the 25, 30-yard bombs downfield. That's not the Packers game. And I don't know why with Christian Watson out, you would even attempt to get away from what works. But it seemed like there was too much of that. The defense had no answer. It just all over. No matter where you go, this was a flop.
Yeah.
This was a flop of a game.
Yeah. I mean, and I think to the credit of the defense, the fact that they only went into the first half, I mean, only having them put up, what was it? 13 points in the first half.
Yeah.
After that fumble, 2 missed field goals in the game. I think they held on for as long as they could, right? They were the cat hanging out on that poster that says just hang in there. I mean, you already start the game without 3 of your you start the game without Evan Williams, Jair Alexander, and Quay Walker. So you're already starting with one arm tied behind your back. And unfortunately, Zane Anderson takes a huge hit, giving a huge hit on special teams.
Special teams play of all things. Why? Oh God, that was.
I mean, they were so thin. You have to start, right? Like that's such a freak accident. But this happened last time too. Like I think Javon Bullard is going to be a very good NFL player, but we are not doing him any favors by having to constantly rotate him the minute somebody goes down back into safety. He got burned on 2 pretty bad routes. But to be fair to him, he was not practicing overhang defending,
right?
Probably all week because he was expecting to start in the slot where he's been starting all year. This happened the last time when Evan Williams went down. They shifted him back before they put Zane in. And so there's just a lot of, I think after he went out, that's when they started really pushing it deep and like kind of really testing the Packers that way. And I'm just not surprised. I think they did the best they could. I will say I am severely disappointed in this pass rush, which is I know been a topic of conversation ever since they traded Preston Smith. We had been saying like, well, I'd been saying I'll speak for myself. I was saying like, against a bad teams, you want to see these types of numbers. You just want to see it become competitive when they're playing good teams. I was saying that after the Seahawks win
Mhm.
2 weeks ago, and holy cow, was it not competitive? It was disastrous. I mean, Sam Darnold had all the time in the world. There might have been a ton of like whatever, however you want to like look into like QB hurries or rushes. They were getting there, but not enough. They only had one sack on the day. I mean, Sam Darnold was not scared to hang in the pocket and just throw the football. And that's because we could not get home. I don't know. It's one of those things it's like trading Preston was addition by subtraction, I think, but we didn't add enough with that subtraction. Like
No.
Brenton Cox is as good of a feel good, like unsigned free agent story it is. As fun as LVN potentially being a development piece, like we are not getting enough pressure up front, and especially on a game where you lose. Now you're down to like 4 of your secondary pieces being gone. Like, how are you expected to beat one of the best teams in the NFL? Period. With that kind of,
Right.
you know, uh,
And and the funny thing is that I actually thought in the first half, I thought that the pressure from the D line was actually okay. I thought there were a few plays when you could tell that they forced Darnold to make a throw. There were they hadn't found Jefferson. There were a few times where they threw to Jefferson, but he overthrew him because there was pressure. And I was like, okay, so the recipe. You know that Darnold's not good enough with pressure to still make these throws to these wide receivers. And then it just second half just all faded away. And
yeah,
it's typical. It's just typical what happens. And um obviously the injury bug is a thing, and it's been hindering this team all year. I just like look when they announced earlier in the week that I think Schefter put it out saying that Jair's for sure out and whoever else was all out, and it was like, okay, well, we were really hoping we were going to have one of these guys, right? We were going to have
yeah,
someone. Didn't nope, we're going to have anyone. So who the hell knows what's going on with Jair? You were really hoping. Look, this game. The reason why I freaked out about this game for weeks leading up to this was because I knew that there was going to be implications here. It wasn't going to
hmm
be if they lose this game, they don't make the playoffs. But now there's a lot more that's riding on it. And you were hoping that maybe this game against the Bears, you didn't have to worry about winning. You didn't have to worry about playing these guys. You could give some guys some extra rest. You didn't have to worry about, okay, do we need to force Jair back now? Because if not, then what the hell matters? And now you have to play the Bears, you have to beat the Bears, and you need to get lucky. And it's just there's just so much to deal
yeah,
with that
yeah, yeah.
it's
Speaking of the playoff picture, yeah, I mean, at the time of recording, right,
yeah.
Commanders just beat the Falcons in overtime.
So I spent some time during the game, kind of playing out the scenarios. I actually talked to Andy Herman, shout out to him, Pack a Day podcast, who we kind of broke down the scenarios here. But where it sits now, the Packers, if they don't want to be the 7 seed, they have to beat the Bears, and the Commanders also have to lose.
Yep.
If the Packers and the Commanders lose, doesn't matter. They're both sevens. Or the Packers are 7. The if they both win, doesn't matter. Packers are a 7.
hmm
So there was just so much, and that game that Atlanta, oh my god, oh, the Atlanta Commander game was also just a roller coaster of, okay, come on Atlanta, please. You
Yeah.
just help, and there are these people that are like, it doesn't matter if we can't go in and beat Philly, then we don't even deserve to be there. I hate that mentality. I'm not trying to tell you how to fan, but I'm gonna tell you how to fan real quick. You want, when you know that you have an injury bug, you want the easiest path until you know you're going to be able to have a full healthy team. If there's a chance that you can go to LA where you know that fans don't really show up and you can flood that place with Packers fans and you can face a Rams team that, yeah, they're better than they were earlier in the season, but still play them and maybe not have to worry about having Jair or some of these other guys, that is way freaking different than having to go into Philly and face Barkley and everything that team has. I know that Jalen Hurts isn't in, blah, 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 blah. I don't even know how that's going to pan out. I don't want to have to worry about it. I want to worry
Yeah.
about that in 3 weeks. I want to
Yeah.
give our guys more time to get to that point. And now it's just seeming, I don't know the percentages,
Yeah.
but it sounds like that's what's happening. We're going to be the 7th seed.
Yeah. Well, I mean, can Big Mike and Cooper Rush do us a solid and beat their division rival? You know, I would say it seems more. I think that the Cowboys are a bigger live dog than the Bears are against us. So you know, I still like our bounce back chances. I don't know. I feel so many different ways about the playoffs right now. Yeah, that whole like if we can't go to beat the Eagles at their place, then we shouldn't. It's just like you want to go from the Eagle. Our path to the playoffs, the 7th seed, is to go from the Eagles to one of the Vikings or Detroit. So you want us to have to beat all 3 teams that we have suffered losses to this season.
Right.
And do you think that's just going to be doable? Like,
well, then we don't deserve to be there, John. Then I guess we should just pack up and go home.
What do you mean?
Stupid.
Deserve? Well, yeah, I want the 6th seed. I think we deserve a round that isn't going to be just optimally the hardest path to the Super Bowl, you know? And that's not to say I don't think that the Packers can beat. I think the Packers could go on Eagles, Vikings, Lions run, or however you want to swap the 1st seed. But I'll tell you what, the way the Vikings play today, it's like I think they're going to beat the Lions. The Lions are so beat up. Like I think like there's a world where the Lions fall to the 5th seed. They play what, the Bucks?
Yeah.
Or is it? Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, dude, who knows? I mean, the Lions, that's the whole point, right? It's like the playoffs can get pretty squirrely pretty fast. So you want
put yourself in the best situation scenario 100%. That you can.
Yeah. So
yeah, that's why I didn't want to play. I don't remember how long ago it was, but I said I didn't want to play Brady. I said, look, I just keep us away from Brady. I hated that Brady had the opportunity. I think it was when he was with Tampa that year they won. It
was the 2020 season. Yeah.
Yeah. They had a home game. And I was like, oh, I don't like that. I don't like that. You just once you get to the playoffs, it's completely different. You're looking at the brackets, you're looking at the scenarios. People need to stop analyzing the 2010 season and going, okay, but look at what we did. Look at what Rodgers did here. But that's not what happens. Okay, that happened one time. And that was a miracle. That was a miracle run from just squeaking in to being the hottest team and finding a way to win it all. That doesn't happen every year. That's not how things usually go. So I understand that it's like a coping mechanism for fans to sit here and go, well, hey, we did it then. Yeah, you're right. You're right. 14 years ago, that's what happened. And it hasn't happened since, and it's not going to happen again. I mean, hopefully, but I'm not banking on it. And I hate that. And I hate that the Packers are in this situation. I hate that they found themselves in this situation.
Yeah, this is like, for me, it's just talking about my own personal fandom. It's the rubber meeting the road on. I liked their chances to beat anybody in the NFC, and the way they've played this season. It's not a 50-50 coin flip like I would have hoped, right? Like I think the Packers championship window opened. I mean, it technically never really closed, right? The last Rodgers season was pretty bad. They almost made the playoffs. And then, last year we've talked about on this podcast plenty of times, a lot of people expected the team to be pretty bad. All we wanted to do was figure out if Jordan Love was the guy. We find our way into the playoffs. Yep. We almost make it to the NFC Championship. So I just think like this team is exactly what we think they are. In terms of
they were.
Right. Yeah. In terms of just like, I was like, okay, they make a lot of really stupid penalties, a lot of dumb mistakes, the mental errors in not catching the football, right? We've seen it all season. And, you were quicker to be like, this is the team. This is just the way it is. Like, I don't know why this is going to change. And I said, well, let's just see what happens in the season. And against lesser opponents, those things started going away. Go figure, because they weren't getting challenged. And it's just like, if this was high school, we're in final exams. This is it. This is the end of the semester.
Yeah.
We didn't study, so now it's like our grades are going to be the grades. And it's just like, it's harder for me as a fan to feel like, oh yeah, we can overcome all this dumb stuff. it's because even I'm getting to the point where if we beat the Bears, I don't know how that makes me feel any better about how we can go face
Right.
one of the Eagles. I mean, all the playoff teams. I mean, and not even shade to the West or the South. Like all of these teams are playing really well right now, and they're
Yeah,
very
they're hot.
competitive. And I
They're
think
hot.
the Packers are better than the tier below Eagles, Vikings, Lions. I think that's just the facts. I think they're the best of the teams that aren't
Being
really at.
the Redskins or the Redskins,
Yeah,
the Commanders,
yeah,
the Buccaneers,
yeah.
and the Rams.
Yeah. And everyone, before this game, we're saying like, oh, the Packers are dark horses to win the Super Bowl. And I think right now they would really have to be a dark horse. I still think they have the personnel to do it. But if the personnel can't perform to the
Here's
bare minimum,
here's what you're hanging your hat on right now. If you are a Packers fan listening to this podcast right now, disagreeing with us, saying that we are being negative, blah blah blah. If you're looking for a reason to say that we are wrong, you are hanging your hat on that there are injuries, and that this team, specifically on the defensive side of the ball, has not had the pieces, right? To cross sports for a metaphor here, it's kind of like when the Bucks, after they won it all in 2021, we couldn't see the big three get back together: Middleton, and Holiday and Giannis. Right? Someone was injured, and so it was like, well, there was an injury, and then that's why it didn't happen. If you are thinking that this team could still beat the Lions, the Eagles, or the Vikings, it is because you haven't seen the best of the best on defense that is on this roster all play at the same time against one of these teams. My issue with that argument is I don't think you're going to. I don't think that you're going to have an opportunity to see that. I don't think that Jair's going to be ready. I mean, they might put him out there, but I don't think he's going to be ready when they play the Eagles in Philly. I
Mhm.
don't think he's ready. I
If
think
they
that
do,
having,
right?
yeah,
If they
if they
do,
do,
if they do,
if they do, but I just, having that extra week and being able to hope that you can go to LA, or I'm pretty sure it has to be LA that they would face. I think there's some weird chance that maybe it would be Tampa Bay,
Mhm.
maybe that they would play. But for the most part, right, that's what you would be looking at, and I think that would be huge for them. I just don't see, if you believe that this team on paper defensively, that's what's missing. I don't think you're going to get your answer this season. I don't. And that sucks.
Yeah,
That sucks.
yeah,
But it's the truth.
yeah, yeah. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, at this point, I would hope that Jair could go and maybe they just play him for like limited snaps. I'm dubious that he's going to be healthy enough to just come in and, like you said, make a huge impact against one of AJ Brown or Puka Nakua or Cooper
Yeah.
Cup. You know what I mean? These are like bona fide superstar
Devontae
wide
Smith. I mean,
receivers.
take your pick. Yeah.
Well, yeah, he's going to go against AJ Brown if you get my point. Although
Right.
I will say Keyshawn Nixon and Carrington Valentine, like they, I think they played him pretty well. I was actually really impressed with Keyshawn Nixon covering Justin Jefferson. There's that late hands, that pass interference in the second quarter.
Yeah.
I wish you could take it back. That is obviously a player who's playing somebody who is significantly better at football than they are, but he made a lot of really impressive plays for a guy who was signed to be our kick returner slash slot corner guy, and to have him on the boundary playing as well as he has is impressive.
Yeah. I don't
Yeah, you're
disagree.
yeah. Yeah. Quay's, I don't know if Quay's going to be back in time. They were dubious that Evan Williams is going to be back. I still, so it's tough, but it all comes back to like our pass rush is not helping our secondary. There's nobody injured.
Right.
There's nobody injured on the defensive line,
But
and
we
they
knew
are
that, John. But we knew that.
yeah,
Right.
yeah,
I mean, that's the problem, is that you said, I think it, honestly, I want to say it was like week 2 or 3 that you said the reason why I'm worried we're not going to make a deep run is because of this defensive line.
yeah,
So, I mean, this is nothing new. We established, I think, if you go back, you watch past episodes, I think it was by like week 6 that it wasn't going to get better, right? There was no personnel that was waiting in the wings that needed an opportunity to prove themselves. Like, this is what we had on the pass rush, and it was minimal. It was going to be, they needed help, and the injuries just kept stacking up from there, and, and it put him in this spot. The thing is that even if you, as much as I want to say, yeah, look at the defense, the offense still scored 3 points in the first half. They
Yeah.
scored 3 points, which then had people saying, okay, so clearly if you don't have Watson in the game, it makes an impact, which took me to a whole different area of me thinking, like, is that true? Are we really that, you know, reliant on Christian Watson to where the whole offense doesn't work without Christian Watson? I have a hard time believing that.
Yeah, I mean, give credit to Brian Flores, right? Too. I mean, I think against a lot of other teams, the answer is no. Against maybe one of the best defenses in the NFL, scheme wise, in terms of causing confusion. Yeah, they're one of the best defenses in the NFL. Against teams like this, like you need every single piece you can to help try to expose. And without him, we were not exposing much. I think that's my big takeaway. Does Christian Watson, is he the linchpin of our offense? Absolutely not. But like I said, he is somebody who can outrun man coverage. He's thins out the defense. He can get separation, and he was a huge piece in the last few games where we saw the offense really take off. So I don't know. And I don't understand. Kraft didn't have a huge involvement. Jaden Reed, four targets, only one catch. I mean, nobody played well. I mean, it's just a really bad game up and down.
Right.
Like, it's just nobody
Right.
really, I think the only person that you could say really played well was Josh Jacobs. And I'd hear arguments saying that he wasn't even that great today.
He did good. He didn't do great.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I mean, a fumble is going to automatically knock you down a few pegs.
Right.
It's just a really ugly game, and it's just like this is the 5th time this year we've watched the Packers unable to really kind of not get in their own way against teams that are of the same ilk or better.
Mhm.
And I mean, the Vikings are a really good football team. I think
that's the difference for me, though. Right? Was I was watching other games, the Philly game to start the season. I think besides the Detroit game at Lambeau, which was just a wet, ugly, awful mess.
Mm-hmm.
The other games were the other team made mistakes too, right? And they gave the Packers had signs of life of, okay, well, wait a minute now. This could be. It didn't feel that way today at all. At all.
No.
I mean, literally when the Packers got an interception today, and I forget who got it, but the Packers got a pick today, and it led to a touchdown. And it still felt like it was nothing. It still felt like it didn't even matter. And then the Vikings went on their next possession and scored a touchdown.
Mm-hmm.
But it just, like, I don't remember the last time that the Packers had an interception that was supposed to be a momentum shifting play. And as a fan, it felt like nothing. It felt like, yeah, okay.
Right.
Which to me, that's all the sign you need. That's all you need to know. So I don't know. I guess here we are laying it out. So the Packers are going to play the Bears next week. We don't know the time.
Noon. It has been announced.
It is
formally.
A noon game.
It is a noon game now.
Is it on?
I think Fox.
Is it on Sunday?
Yes, Sunday.
Okay.
Yep.
Do we know when the Commanders play?
I think Sunday night.
Okay.
Let me take a look. I'm on X right now, scrolling.
So if that's the case, then that would mean that I was hoping it'd be the other way around, but this is a benefit for the Commanders, knowing if they need to win that game or not.
Yeah. Sunday Night Football, I'm sorry, is Detroit versus Minnesota, of course. That makes way more sense. My apologies.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Yeah.
Okay, so we know for sure the Packers are playing the Bears at noon. Not sure yet when.
Commanders boys are playing at noon as well.
Okay.
They had officially announced the Week 18 schedule. So fire away those questions again. Packers at noon against the Bears, Commanders and Cowboys at noon, and then Vikings Lions for Sunday Night Football to figure out who's going to get the 1 seed.
Okay, which I don't care about. So because we're not playing either of those teams. So
correct.
At noon, you're going to have your double feature going because as well, and that's smart for them, right? Smart for the NFL, knowing that if they put those games at different times, one of them there's a chance it wasn't going to matter, and
Yeah.
then people were going to tune out. So you got to keep an eye on both. Which God, I hate that it's come to that, and man, just so many bad things right now. Just I
Yeah.
hate that. I hate that we don't control our own destiny. I hate all of it. Blarg.
Yeah.
I'm also not satisfied with getting the 7 seed and making it into the playoffs. Like this team almost made it to the NFC Championship last year. What did
Yep.
they lose beyond Aaron Jones?
I mean, nothing. The conference got better, unfortunately. I mean, that's the truth, right?
Yeah,
In,
but that's what I'm saying. Even if the conference got better, then we should have locked in the 6 seed. We should have been
yeah.
the fact that we're still having to go and play the second best team in the NFC with this record is sad. And the fact that we won at this point one game in division, one, hopefully two. Woof. When was the last time that happened?
I don't know. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know.
I'm not trying to be the negative guy here, but
I
there's
know
not a
you're
whole
not.
lot of positivity around for me to grab onto.
I mean, yeah. Yeah.
Uh,
I would have
the-
liked for them to be the 6. I'm glad they clinched the playoff when they did. You know what I mean? It's like
yeah,
it is a testament to how good the football team was all season. So I don't want to necessarily I don't want to do revisionist history and be upset with the season because they did what they needed to, which was clinch a playoff berth, right? Like we knew we were likely not going to challenge the Lions for the number 1 seed. I think that was
right.
pretty apparent early on. I think we all were surprised by the Vikings. I really thought the Vikings were going to fall off. And at this point, like I said, I think they probably are the best team in the NFC at this point. Well, at least in the NFC North, given the Lions' current roster makeup. So,
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
I mean, I feel like to start the season, a lot of people thought the Packers were going to do better than the Lions. Based on just how things ended last year. I
Right.
think people were like, look out, Jordan Love's a man, this team is back.
Mhm.
Holy crap. Watch out. No one expected the Vikings to be here.
Mhm.
No one. Which is why Kevin O'Connell will be coach of the year.
Yep,
So
for sure. 100%. Yeah, he probably should be at this point.
and he deserves it.
Yep.
And I hate him. So
Yeah. Yeah. I was listening. I don't remember what I was listening to. Was it the GM shuffle? But they were just talking about how their GM, I don't remember how to pronounce his name, and I'm not going to insult the man by saying it wrong. But he cannot draft to save his life, but man, can he sign? Can he sign players, man? Everybody he brought in for the Vikings, Van Ginkel, I forget who the other guys are, but man, up and down that roster, all of the guys he signed in free agency came in and have made a massive impact on their team. And that's something I wish I would see more from Brian Gutekunst, right? I guess, this season's not over, so don't get me wrong, but I'm very excited to see what does next year look like where we can actually maybe go out and make some more signings. I mean, going out and getting Xavier McKinney was awesome.
I was going to say the
and
signings he did this year.
Yeah, I just mean like two. I just mean like we're getting out of cap hell between
Sure.
the Rodgers contracts,
He signed X and
Devondre
Jacobs.
Campbell. I know,
Like they're
great, but I just mean
really good.
I'm not disagreeing. My point is that instead of relying so heavily on the draft to maybe backfill the roster, maybe we can go out and get some secondary pieces that aren't so laughably bad. When it's not even necessarily starting. I'm just saying, like, maybe we can add some like interesting depth. Maybe we can bring in some guys who are already proven NFL players. And this isn't really Goody's MO, but he has done it in the past when he's had opportunities to, like in 19 or 18 when he brought in both Smith brothers and Adrian Amos in the same year. So it's like when he has the cap, he will go out and fill positions of need. They need to get a cornerback. I mean, we're getting ahead of it because the season's not over, and I'm not trying to like talk about this stuff. But this is when I'm looking at it. It's like, man, I can't believe I'm saying this for like the umpteenth year, but they need to spend more draft picks on the defense. It just sucks because not enough of them are hitting.
Like all they're doing.
I know. But they need more cornerback depth. They just do. Like these guys are the best, and they do fine. But like Jair going down, and at this point, you can't rely on Jair. So it's like
They can't stay healthy.
Yeah,
it's a health issue.
Right.
It's not that the pick was bad or that the talent was wrong. Doesn't matter if they can't play,
Yeah.
and that's what they're dealing with.
Yeah. But I just mean,
So
that's what I mean. I just wish that they had more flexibility to bring in guys who are known commodities in the NFL.
yeah,
Um, but whatever. I mean, that's a different conversation for a different day.
yeah.
I guess
We'll have that on a different podcast.
yeah.
I just yeah. I mean, all in all, it was an ugly game.
Mhm.
Not a whole lot to celebrate or analyze, right?
Yeah.
I think the only thing we didn't talk about the game that was frustrating was the aggressiveness of Matt LaFleur. I hated that he didn't go for it on 4th and 3 from the 5 and then chose to go for it on 4th and 2 from the 25.
Mhm.
Um, that made
That's eight, but
no sense to me.
yeah. I
I
would have
mean,
liked to seen those flip, right?
yes, right.
Um,
Because and the reason why, because a lot of people are gonna listen to this and say, of course, it's easy to say that now. No, because even if they wouldn't have gotten it, then you're pinning them on the 5, right? It's a lot easier to play the battle between field position when you have them pinned on their own 5 than it is to give them the ball in the 25, right? So
mhm.
there's more risk that goes with going for it there than going for it, even if they wouldn't have gotten it
Mhm.
on that 4th. Because obviously people were like, man, would have loved that field goal. Would have loved for him to just
Yeah.
kick the field goal on both. If they do that, the game changes. You know, they
Yeah, yeah.
can't
I
play
don't
next
understand how
to each other.
people just like, yeah, how people just go, well, if they would have kicked it, that would have been the game. It's like, well, no, because then the game would have unfolded completely differently.
Right.
Like, it's just
Could have
like,
been a completely
it's
different
like
game.
you can talk about penalties because penalties are plays that already existed that we made harder by being penalized. You know what I mean? Those
Right.
are things you can actually say, like, but the decision to go for it or not to go for it, yeah, I would have loved to have seen him go for it there. I think I said to a buddy in real time, I was like, I understand why they kicked the field goal. I wish they would have went for it. And then I literally sent him the exact same text and I said, I understand why they went for it, but I wish they would
Wish
have
they would
kicked
have
the
kicked
field.
the field
So
goal. Yeah.
it's just like, Matt LaFleur keeps also coming out on the podium being like, yeah, these are like gut checks. Like it's a gut instinct thing. And it's just like, well, there's like a lot of analytics in the league, right? And
Yeah.
so it's
Maybe it
like
shouldn't be.
either you are using them and stop speaking to us like we're children that we don't understand, that you just don't want to like, you're just like want to be able to do what you feel like is right in the moment. But it's like you've also earned that as like one of the most winningest head coaches
Yeah.
of all time right now, in your current tenure. So it's just like, it's fine, Matt. Just tell us you wanted to go for it or you didn't. It's just like own those decisions a little harder, I think would
But
be nice.
also
But
he's not Dan Campbell,
no.
right? So like don't if the aggressive part isn't you, that's fine. Not every coach in the NFL is Dan Campbell. And to be honest with you, I don't know before this year that the balls on Dan Campbell were viewed as a good thing. There were many games that cost the Lions because Dan Campbell went for it when he shouldn't have, right? It's just working now or has worked now because he has a really good team. So I don't want Matt LaFleur to automatically change into this guy. I don't think that the Dan Campbell, Leroy Jenkins, balls to the walls, go for it mentality is the right move for all coaches. But it feels like he's trying to be that and then going, okay, wait, maybe not.
Yeah.
Maybe I should have
Well,
there. Well, now feels right.
yeah.
Stop.
I think part of it is you talk about the likes of Sirianni, Kevin O'Connell, um, Motor City Dan Campbell, his full legal name, Motor City
Yeah,
Dan
yeah.
Campbell. They do go for it. They are all three of those teams have a really high fourth down. So I think there's a level of like, I think he goes for it in situations more than he probably wants, and why he calls it guns instinct. Because I think there's a level of like keeping up with the Joneses. Like the best teams in the NFL are in 4-down territory a lot because they think their personnel can make it. So at some point, the Packers need to start flexing we can convert fourth and short. And they just haven't been very good at it. And that's the problem. And that's
Sure.
like why I think it's a gut instinct thing, because like I don't blame Matt LaFleur for going, the Vikings have a really great interior run defense. Can Josh Jacobs just run it for 2? I don't know. We are not historically great at getting passes out within the 5-yard line. Our red zone offense got fixed when we just started giving the ball to Jacobs. Period. That's what fixed the red zone. It wasn't like Matt LaFleur got in his boy genius bag and started scheming up these insane plays. They just started giving the ball to Jacobs and let him run in the end zone, which is really
Yeah.
great. But I just think in that moment he kicked the field goal because I think he got stuffed 2 runs, and I think he was going, you know what? We just got to get some points on the board. So I think the whole gut instinct, it's a real like damned if you do, damned if you don't situation. And I
Sure.
think the reason why he says gut instinct is because I think he wants to be aggressive, but it's not lost on him that his team just is not, we're not tush pushing or love shoving our way to first down, period.
Correct.
So I don't know. I, I, I tend to not really put too much weight on that in these games, especially in the first half. I never care, kick it or don't. It's so early in the game, like be opportunistic or don't. So it's like I don't throw a lot of weight in that. You know, if it's
Yeah.
like fourth quarter, 5 minutes left, if we go for it, maybe we can score a touchdown. That's where I'm going to start getting like really bothered. But in terms of like tone setting, if you're telling me if I got a chance to ask Matt LaFleur and he would say, "Yeah, we just need to get points on the board," I'd go, "God bless you. I agree. We had a 3 and out. We had, you know,
Right.
we got that what was it? Their missed field goal put us in really great position. So if he
Yep.
was just like, we need to get points on the board, like they gifted us great field position. I understand that. I genuinely do understand. Hey, we got so close. I would have loved for it to be a touchdown, but we can't walk away on a short field without getting any points. I can respect that. And so I don't know. He's a head coach. I'm not. This is
Right.
like the thing. It's just like I trust him implicitly. He's too good of a coach for me not to go, hey, whatever he wants to do, you know.
Yeah, but
Because ultimately,
I don't like his reasoning when he's questioned about it.
there's
You know.
just gut instincts, dude.
Yeah. Yeah, I
I just
don't
like I
like
said,
that.
it's a cover up. I think it's truly is a cover up. I think he's
Well, I
not
don't like
wanting to
that
be
either.
transparent. Well, you know, you can't really stand up on the podium and go, yeah, I don't think our guys could punch it in. I just didn't think they could, you know.
Sure.
Or hey, our guys.
Do you think that's really the answer?
You mean like the truth about it?
Yeah.
I mean, dude, I don't know. Josh Jacobs, they're wheeling and dealing. He fumbles, not great. I think he has to be realistic about the fact that they're, like I said, their interior defensive line is very good. They're good at stopping the run. It was immovable force means unstoppable rock or whatever that expression is.
Unstoppable rock.
Yeah, the unstoppable
If you
rock.
smell.
Yeah, and guess what? It wasn't cooking. So
That's right.
I don't know. I just think there, like I said, I think there's I'm typically I'm okay with people taking points. Really, I am. But yeah.
But not what they did. All right. So to
Yeah,
wrap
kinda.
things up here, let's look
Yeah.
at next week. So I'm gonna ask for score predictions for 2 games
Okay.
because 2 games matter.
Right. And you have to go first because technically you were right. You predicted that the Vikings were going to win by 2.
Damn it! Did I really?
You did. Yeah. You
Damn.
did. Yeah. You said no by 3. My apologies.
Okay.
But yeah.
God, I hate when I'm right.
Me too.
Okay.
Because I've only ever picked the Packers.
Yeah. Well, maybe that's your problem, John.
Okay.
So all right, first game is the Packers and Bears. It's in Lambeau, and the Packers are going to win that game. They are going to win it by 14.
Okay.
They are going to win it 28-14.
Interesting.
And it is going to be more false hope of see, look how good this team is, even though it's against the Bears. Game 2 is going to be the Commanders and the Cowboys, which will be played in Jerry World.
Mm-hmm.
It'll be at the same time. And that game is going to be I think it's going to be, man, I don't know. The Commanders are going to win. I don't know how much they're going to win by. I'm going to say they're going to win by 7. It'll be closer, but it'll be close enough to give me hope that there's a chance as I'm watching both games that that the Cowboys are actually going to do it, and that big Mike McCarthy is going to help this Packers team out. And he's going to find a way to win this game, and then they won't. They won't do it. I'm going to say the Commanders win 27-20.
27-20 Commies over the Cowboys. Just taking these notes down. You said 24-18 Bears, yeah?
Yeah. Well, no, 28-14 Packers.
Packers over Bears. My apologies. Yeah. All right, what do I think is going to happen?
Well, that's what you need to know.
And that's what I need to tell you, which is I think the Packers win 27. 21 over
Okay.
the Bears.
Dude,
And
that's a lot closer.
Yeah, I don't know. I think for my own sake, I don't want to watch the Packers. I would almost rather the Packers get pushed to the limit a little bit and have to like really come out and win, for the simple fact that I just think like I'm future hedging playoff stuff. Like they can't keep stomping bad teams and then getting embarrassed by it. So I'm like, maybe if they just barely beat a bad team, maybe they'll like,
Which
it's
is
more
exactly
humble
how
pie.
it went against the Bears last time.
I know.
That's literally, they played a garbage game against the Bears, and the Bears played great, and they should have lost to the Bears last time.
Right. So let's say it's 21-20 and Love has to drive the boys down in the fourth quarter to win 27-20. And they score a touchdown instead of a field goal. Like there's just like, let's say Watson's back, if he's back, or Dobbs catches an insane catch and they score a touchdown and they win at 27-21. That's what I'm gonna say. I hope I'm wrong in the sense that I hope the Packers blow out the Bears because I love watching it. But you just never know. And this is me trying to do some score voodoo for the playoffs.
Yeah.
And then I think the Cowboys do some weird thing where they beat.
Oh my God,
dude! I think the Cowboys
are
beat,
ridiculous.
I think it's the Cowboys over commies, and I think it's going to be like, dude, I'm going to say it 35-21.
You are crazy.
I think they're just going to
absolutely. Oh my God.
Yeah.
This is okay.
I mean, they don't have CD or Dak, so I have no reason for really thinking that.
But
who cares? We're not a Cowboys podcast.
It's just but this is just like, you're like, all right,
they're playing for pride.
Let me also predict like the most positive Packer outcome that could possibly happen.
The Cowboys.
How is that realistic at all, John?
I'll tell you how it's realistic. It's realistic because they're at home. Big Mike's playing for his job. They're playing with some house money. They can play spoiler. You don't think they want to make sure that the Commanders have to go play the Eagles? Like it's like interdivisional stuff, you know?
I don't think it matters. I think they're a garbage team that's playing a hot Commanders team.
Yeah, they're pretty bad. I immediately regret that. I hope they win. I think it's going to be way closer than what I said, but like I said, I'm future hedging. I think the Cowboys are going to beat the Commanders 35-17.
God, I should have enough to do the next podcast with your shirt off.
I mean, this isn't a Cowboys podcast, so no, I'm not gonna make that kind of bet with you.
It's such a stupid bet. I want you to pay for it. It's such a stupid prediction.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, man, I can't wait to watch Ezekiel Elliott look like 2012 Ezekiel Elliott again, man. He's gonna run wild on the Commanders.
Hope he jumps in a red kettle.
Yeah.
Oh God. All right.
We'll see.
There's our predictions.
Yeah.
We will know for sure by next podcast what the Packers playoff picture looks like and what they'll have to do. We didn't talk Bucks this week, and that's fine because it's all about the Packers right now. Yeah. We will talk Bucks eventually. And hopefully, John, the next time we're talking about a trip to LA for the
That would be nice. Yes,
that would be nice.
Yep.
Thank you everyone for tuning in and for watching or listening. We really do appreciate you, and make sure to tune in next time because we're not done yet.